Being a wife and mother is the best job in the world, but it's also the hardest job in the world because you're constantly giving to other people and taking care of other people. On top of that, I truly believe the mother is the heart of the home. We set the tone for the rest of our home. If we're peaceful and we stay calm, it helps our children stay calm. I actually heard this podcast where Shawn Johnson, she's a former Olympic athlete, she was talking about something her mom did when her kids would have tantrums out in public. Instead of yelling at her kids or creating more noise when the child was like freaking out, she would get really quiet and get down to their level and whisper to them, and she would model the behavior she was looking for her child to do. And I thought that was so profound. I thought that was so cool. So when my kids flip out, I try to get more quiet, more calm, more intentional. That is very hard. I have a 2-year-old and a 1-year-old. I am dealing with babies that have very big emotions on a regular basis. They're experiencing all of that for the first time, so it's very overwhelming for them, and it's very overwhelming for me sometimes when, it seems like everyone is freaking out and turning against me. And sometimes it can be really hard to be peaceful in the chaos. I'm going to share the tips that have helped me cultivate peace in my home because I am not a naturally peaceful person. I definitely favor more type A qualities. I sometimes have anxiety. I can be controlling. Those are my vices. I don't think being like a peaceful, soothing person comes specifically natural to me, but I have learned by following these steps how to cultivate more peace in my life, to cultivate more peace in my home, to cultivate more peace with my children and how I parent. And those things are important. My first tip is prioritize taking care of yourself. I've heard this from many women, and I know this for myself to be true. When you are a mom and you're a wife, it's so much easier to take care of everyone else and try and fix everything before you take care of yourself. I really especially with dinner time or feeding things, I want to make sure everybody's been fed and everybody's been taken care of before I feel like I can finally relax and eat my meal, because I'm so anxious to make sure that everything is situated. Everything needs to be figured out before I can feel peace. Although for mealtime, that makes sense, it actually doesn't really work well when it comes to most other things in your home and cultivating a peaceful home. You need to have peace first with yourself before you can provide that to others. Some practices that I've started doing to help me cultivate peace is, one, I try to wake up before my children. Now, I am not an early bird by any means. I struggle to wake up every day. I have something called Addison's disease. A normal person makes cortisol in the morning to help them wake up, and I don't make any cortisol to help me wake up in the morning. I have to take medications every day to keep me alive. So the mornings are a struggle for me. I am not ever recommending be something that you're not. There is no one size fits all. So all my tips I'm gonna share with you. You can take them and apply them to what's gonna work for you and your family and your life. You have to tell your life for you, who you are, what you need, what's gonna be helpful for you. I love the idea of waking up at 5 a.m. because I would have hours of peace before my kids wake up, but that's not possible for me. I am, as I said, not an early bird, but I can wake up 30 minutes before my children, and that is still painful for me. But getting that 30 minutes before my kids to wake up without hearing someone cry and have a little bit of time to take care of me, do my skincare, read my affirmations, say my morning prayers. I have 2 prayers that I wrote specifically on my motherhood, and I highly recommend you do this too. I created this prayer basically by writing out everything that I was struggling with, everything I wanted to give God, and everything I wanted to cultivate in my own life, and then I made it into a prayer. Part of that prayer is asking God to help me see my blessings and to be grateful for the blessings in my life. Part of that prayer is help me to be peaceful in the chaos of day-to-day life. I've shared my morning prayer as a mother before, but I'll also include it in the description box if you want to read that prayer for your morning offering, or take it and then tweak it to make it work for you. I like starting my day the first thing in the morning with my morning offering prayer to invite God into my day and help be close with Him from the start of me opening my eyes. That's the first thing I do. I have the prayer on my bedside table and I say my prayer, and then I do a few things to make myself feel a little more put together before I start taking care of my kids. My second tip, which also piggybacks off of this, is prioritizing self-care. And what I mean by this is, I remember when I was newly postpartum and I would hear women talking about how they could never get time to shower. I remember thinking I don't want to let that happen to me because I know showering makes me feel better. Yes, your newborn needs you 24/7. It's never ending, but you need to take care of you too. You deserve to have your teeth brushed and wash your body. And this is not to shame anyone that has has fallen into that because it's very easy to fall into, but it's just saying it's so important. Like you are a good mom for showering. You are a good mom for brushing your teeth. You're a good mom for taking care of yourself, even if that means your kid cries for a little bit while you get that done. I think there's this stigma, like do everything for your child and not take care of you. I think that's why there's a lot of really unhappy mothers out there. And that makes me emotional because I think that as women, we put so much pressure on ourselves to take care of everyone else, but you deserve to be taken care of too. And something that really helped me in giving myself permission to take care of myself is I heard this quote, and I know it to be true. Your kids don't learn how to take care of themselves and how to treat themselves by the way you treat them. They learn how to take care of themselves and treat themselves by the way you take care of you. And I want my kids to know that taking care of themselves is important. So for me, I do my morning and my night routine even when I'm postpartum with my kids. I had 2 under 2. I ended up in a coma and I was in the ICU and I still did my self-care. That was an ugly mess, but I still did it. And it wasn't easy and I didn't enjoy it. Like, I'm not saying I always love doing these things, but they do make me feel more human and more taken care of. And when you're taking care of other people all the time, you need to do that. Another thing that I really prioritize as far as taking care of myself is exercise. I try to exercise 3 to 5 times a week, sometimes more, sometimes less. It's easier for me in the spring, fall, and winter because I can go on long walks with my kids, and then we all, like my children, I think because I've been doing it since they were babies, they love being outside in the stroller, and so I have trained them to be outside in the stroller for like 2 hours at a time, and that is sometimes like the only time that I have mental peace and quiet and I can think for myself and move my body and be with my kids and be taking care of them. I can't recommend enough getting outside and exercising, but right, I live in Texas. It's like 1,005 degrees. Basically, it's almost exactly that. It's too hot for me to get outside, so it's a little bit harder for me to find that time to exercise, but moving your body, it does not have to be the craziest workout ever. It's just about the intention of exercising. I will share some YouTube videos in the description box of beginner-friendly workouts that I think are great that you can do at home around your kids that have blessed me immensely. And just remember, you can start out small. You can start out without lifting any weights and then add a 1 pound or a 2 pound or a 3 and build from there. You'd be amazed by how quickly you can build up your strength. My next tip is to simplify your life. I also feel as women, sometimes we overcomplicate our schedules. We put too much on our plate. We try to do it all, and we're really not meant to do it all. My 2-year-old son has autism, and something that I've really learned in this experience with him is that I'm not enough for him. I'm not a speech therapist. I'm not an occupational therapist. I'm not a physical therapist. I cannot provide to the level that those caregivers and specialists can. And that has been humbling for me, but also freeing at the same time. It's like very hard when you want to do everything for your child and you want to help them in any way you can. But I've realized I am limited in a lot of areas that he still needs help and guidance. So as his mother, it is important for me to remember that it's not all about me. There are other people that are meant to be in your children's lives to help you, to bless them. Not feel like you have to do it all. Not feel like you are the one. Don't overcomplicate your schedule. I have a very simple schedule with my kids. Like, we do something in the morning normally, like we'll go to the park or we'll go to the library or we'll have a play date with friends. My kids have a nap in the afternoon every day. I don't go out. Like, I'm pretty strict about our schedule. I know I have friends that like don't have a schedule at all and that works better for them. So I'm not trying to make anyone feel like, as I said, I'm more type A. So we do our schedule, but some people don't like that and that's okay. This is more to say you have to make your life work for you. For me, having a simple schedule with not too many appointments, not too many big things going on, where I don't feel rushed to get from this thing to the next, helps me. When you have too much on your schedule, too much on your plate, rushing is inevitable because you don't have enough time to fit everything in. And that's really what I'm trying to say. If you feel like you're constantly rushing from one place to the next, try and look at your schedule and see where you can take things off. Try and look at what your responsibilities are and see if you can delegate them to somebody else. I have a cleaning person that comes to our house every other week. That may seem like a very large luxury to some, and yes, we are a single income family, and to be honest, when we started getting a cleaning lady, I didn't know how we would be able to afford it, but I was like, we'll take it every other week at a time and see what happens, because cleaning our house was an area of where I felt like I was failing. I can tidy, I wiped out my counters, like I keep the house clean, like I make my bed every day, but deep cleaning my house was something that I did not feel physically capable of doing. I was always running up short, and I was feeling really ashamed about it. It was a source of stress and anxiety. You can't do it all yourself. you need to delegate. Maybe it's having a babysitter or a mom or a sister or a friend watch your child for a few hours so you can run errands or get something done. Maybe it's having a cleaning person come every other week because that is something that really overwhelms you and you never find the time to, and then it makes you feel bad. Find the areas of your life that you just feel like you can't do it all. Try and find a way to delegate that to someone else, that it can free up your plate and give more simplicity, more room for you to have peace. Because when you have an overscheduled life, when you have too many responsibilities on your plate, it is very hard to be peaceful because there is a piece of you that feels like you're always failing. And I feel like as moms, I know I struggle with this, and I know a lot of other mothers struggle with this where they feel like they're failing all the time. Really, it's just the world is much more demanding to mothers now than it ever was before. The schedules that we have, the fact that we don't have family support, a lot of women don't have family support. Those things are hard. You're not meant to do everything on your own. Other cultures and countries have multi-generational homes where the parents live with the kids and the grandkids, and they help with their grandkids. Yeah, it can have its own form of tension, but having that extra help is really invaluable. You're not meant to do everything on your own. My next tip is to count your blessings. Being a mom can be very challenging, and I was feeling very worn out at the end of every day, very exhausted from my schedule and my day. Even though I adore my children and I love being with them, it's a lot to take care of a household, take care of myself, take care of my kids, make sure that the house is clean, make sure everybody's been fed. By the end of the night, I felt like it was the eye spinning emoji. It was hard. And something that really helped me was at the end of every night, I started writing down all the good things that happened to me in a day. And it would be simple things. So I would just write little bullet points, and I would reflect from the start of my day. Like, I woke up feeling good today. Got to take a deep breath and it made me feel peaceful. Oliver's smile when I went to greet him in the morning. When I handed Oliver his bottle and he said thank you. Like, how cute. My son Theodore's smile when I greeted him this morning, the big hug that he gave me when I picked him up out of his crib, having an easy morning with the boys, my sons following my directions when I asked them to do something, them both eating good meals, having a healthy breakfast. And I would just go through my day and literally list all the things that made me feel good throughout the day. It started really changing the way that I looked at my life, and I would see different moments in the day and I'd be like, I'm definitely gonna write that down. That was a good thing that happened today. Life is full of really hard things every day and really good, wonderful things. It's very easy to focus on the hard things. I don't think we should ignore the challenging aspects of our life because I think they help us identify where we need to make positive change, where things maybe aren't working. We need to implement new strategies like simplifying your life. But it's also important to train your brain to see the good things every day because there is so much goodness in every day. It's hard to have a 1 and 2 year old. I'm not even gonna sugarcoat it. It's a lot of work. I love my children. I love the season, but I don't want to wish away the season. I want to enjoy it for what it is. I love my kids so much, and I want to feel like I really soaked up every minute with them. My last tip is to have a strong relationship with God. I cannot overstate this enough. It's so important to give things over to God because as wives and mothers, there's a lot of things that are outside our control. Like I said, my son has autism, things that go on with my husband's job. There are so many things that I just have absolutely no control over. That can be very hard for me, but God knows everything. God is in control of everything. God sees everything, and God is there to protect you. One of my favorite Bible verses is Jeremiah 29:11. It states, I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you, plans for a hope and a future. The Lord wants to bless you. The Lord has good plans for you. When things are really hard, I turn to the Lord in every day, but I especially like to pray the surrender novena when I am really struggling in something because there are some things that only God can do. I highly recommend the surrender novena for anyone and everyone, but especially for wives and mothers because being a wife and mother, you are given a special cross because you love people in your life, your children and your husband so much, but you don't actually have any control over them. You don't have control over what happens to them. You don't have control over a lot. And that is a cross because to love so deeply and to see people struggle and suffer, it is a cross like I've never understood until I became a wife and a mother, especially with my son's autism, to see different things that he struggles with that I don't have control over and I can't make right, but I know God can make it right, and God can change my heart and how I feel about it. That's why I'm so grateful I have faith in God, I truly encourage you, if you struggle with your faith in God, to pray the surrender novena and ask the Lord to increase your faith, because God will provide. God loves you. God gave you your husband and children not by mistake. He has plans for you, and they are good. This video is brought to you by my meal planning guide. I teach you how to stop eating out and start eating at home. I used to eat out every meal. I used to struggle with meal planning. I used to throw out food all the time. I didn't see the purpose in grocery shopping. And then I finally figured out how to plan for how many meals we needed for the week, how to grocery shop and only have to do one shop a week for the whole week, how to identify why I was eating out and where I could make new habits to stop eating out. I also share 60 delicious recipes that are so easy to make and hearty, filling meals that you will actually want to eat. Because I think one of the tricks with eating at home is actually making food that you want to eat instead of making something that you think is good and healthy, and then all of a sudden you never touch it and it goes bad and you have to throw it out. I never throw out food anymore. I never have food waste, and we save so much money by going to the grocery store only once a week and eating everything that I purchase. I share all those details in my meal planning guide, and I will link it in the description box below. I make videos on how to live a Christ-centered life. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel. I would love to see you next time.